Hello, and welcome once again to Friday Focus, where we do not focus on what is seen, but on what is unseen. Today, Friday Focus takes a look at Psalm 97. We're slowly working our way through the Psalms. They have practical advice for everyday living. Everyday people get everyday answers when they read through the Psalms. And so Psalm 97 is the one we are looking at today. I call it From Clouds to Clarity. As a pilot, I remember the first time I flew into clouds. It was extremely unsettling. I had the feeling almost that my airplane was over on one wing and going straight down. My mind told me one thing, but my instruments told me something quite different. My salvation was my instruments, trusting what I knew to be right over what I felt. Have you ever felt like life is just, clouds? Confusing, messy, out of control? You wake up, make your plans, and then life throws something unexpected at you, like traffic or deadlines or bills or a tense conversation or just the mental weight of daily life. Psalm 97 seems to begin like that. Not calm, uh, not easy to understand, but with drama. Clouds, darkness, fire, mountains melting like wax. Majestic, powerful, maybe even a little intimidating. But here's the amazing part. The psalm doesn't leave us in the clouds. It takes us on a journey from clouds to clarity, to everyday life, showing us that God, who reigns over the universe, also rules our Monday mornings, our work, our small choices, daily habits, and our lives. When we faithfully live with that truth, life begins to change. Take a fellow by the name of Samuel Truett Cathy, for instance. He started a restaurant business in Georgia, and he made a decision that puzzled almost everyone. He decided he was going to close every single Sunday. Now, in the restaurant world, Sunday is one of the busiest, most profitable days of the week. Competitors warned him, "You're going to lose millions." But Cathy's faith was clear. He believed the Lord reigned over his business, not profit and not competition. Closing on Sunday wasn't a clever marketing strategy from the world's perspective. It was an act of trust, an act of obedience, an act of faithfulness to his Lord. And the impact? Well, today, Chick-fil-A is one of the most successful fast food chains in America. That culture of integrity, trust, and faithfulness still shapes the company that he founded. This true story reminds us that living under God's reign doesn't always mean dramatic miracles. Often, it's the ordinary stuff: work, home, school, relationships, everyday life, where faithfulness counts most. There are 5 things that I see that Psalm 97 can teach us. And so I'd like to go through them with you. And the first thing that I see is a declaration in Psalm 97, and it's "The Lord reigns." Look at verse 1. "The Lord reigns, let the earth be glad, let the distant shores rejoice." Notice, rejoicing comes first, not after everything is perfect. Life may feel disoriented, cloudy, confusing, overwhelming, and uncertain. But when we know God reigns, we can choose to trust him. Did you hear what I said? We can choose to trust him with joy, even in ordinary or difficult circumstances. Joy flows from confidence in his sovereignty. That's what we're joyful about. Maybe we're not joyful about what's going on. We don't like what's going on. We wish it would go away. But we can have joy that flows from confidence in God's sovereignty, not from the absence of problems. How do you start your day? Try reminding yourself that God is on the throne. When stress hits, remember, he's still king, even in your situation. Yeah. Look for small ways to give thanks and praise. Even the smallest victories are worth celebrating. The second thing that I see is God's rule is righteous and just. Listen to the last half of verse 2. Righteousness and justice are the foundation of his throne. Even when life seems unfair because of work conflicts, family, or struggles, and unmet expectations, God is still ruling with perfect righteousness. We can trust his character even when we don't understand his methods. So anchor your decisions in God's character, not in what seems immediately fair or advantageous. Even ordinary choices, such as the way you speak to a coworker or handle a disagreement, can reflect God's justice. The third thing I find in Psalm 97 is that God has power over obstacles. Verse 5 of Psalm 97 describes mountains melting like wax. Mountains symbolize obstacles, pressures, and those things that seem immovable. But nothing is too big for our God. No relationship strain, no health concern, no fear, no worry is beyond his power. Bring your mountains to God in prayer. Act when necessary, but always remember, the Lord is in control. Even small, faithful steps can lead to big victories. The fourth thing that I find in Psalm 97 is reject conformity to the world and live with integrity. That's a choice you can make. You can choose to live with integrity. I'm reminded of Romans chapter 12, verse 2, which tells us not to conform to this world. The world makes idols out of everything, out of status or money or possessions, celebrities, systems, anything and everything. Verse 7 warns us against worshiping idols and calls God's people to hate evil. Faithfulness under God's reign means putting him first. It means integrity in our ordinary, everyday life. It's honesty, treating others well, doing what's right, even when no one is watching. How do we do that? Well, by examining our priorities regularly. Ask yourself, who or what do I rely on most? It's a simple question, but I think it brings us to the crux of the matter. Who or what do I rely on most? Integrity says, I align my work and choices with God's standards. Small acts of obedience lead to a life that is God-honoring. And finally, the fifth thing that I see in Psalm 97 is that we need to bring light and joy to everyday living. Psalm 97 promises a different kind of life, even amid trials, tribulations, and troubles. Listen to what verse 11 says. Light shines on the righteous and joy on the upright in heart. It's interesting to note that the word light seems to refer to the light of prosperity. That doesn't necessarily mean you're going to become wealthy, for there are many ways to prosper in life. And many are the rich who do not enjoy a joy-filled life. Joy in all situations is cultivated through faithful daily living. So persevere in integrity, even when no one notices. Celebrate small wins. Be intentional in kindness and gratitude. Psalm 97 isn't just about mountains or fire. It's really about ordinary moments, even those taken for granted every day, that shape character and produce lasting joy. So, what do we learn from Psalm 97 that we can take into everyday life? Simply that this psalm is more than words, it's a life shaper. Remember, the God who reigns above the clouds is the same God who rules your Monday morning and all the other days of the week. Let that truth shape your choices, your work, and your joy today. Nothing in your life is too small for our King to rule. Doing so will move us out of the clouds and into the clarity of everyday life. This is Dr. Vic Hollyfriend in His Grace. If you have any comments or questions, you can address them to me at vicsfridayfocus@gmail.com. That's vicsfridayfocus@gmail.com. God bless you. Let God reign in your life and let Him move you out of the clouds and into clarity.